Hey there, everybody. This week in the podcast, Lisa and I talked about how people are going to react in a crisis or an SHTF event, different types of people, and how people can basically make an event even a little bit more tolerable or a lot worse. But in that podcast, we talked a little bit about the future of our country and where we're kind of headed. And I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about that. The way I see it, and who knows what the time frame is, but it seems like we're creeping towards a more socialist type of state, a European style government, and a lot of people are really okay with that. And when you think about it, when you look at the news and everything, people in France, people in Germany, they're not, their lives basically are just like ours. It seems like on the surface, but the government has a lot of control over there. That if that happened over here, I think there would be a lot of people that would be upset, and a lot of people that just want it to go that way and want to see how that works. Who knows how long that would be? I'm more concerned about, maybe my children's future, or maybe my grandchildren's future, it going to that point. But there is a caveat to that kind of really decides everything, and that's what happens in between now and then. There could be a couple of things that happen that just blow everything up. First off, being the economy and us being in so much debt, something is bound to happen. The second being that if we get to that point, there's a lot of people in this country that don't want to go that way. This election has kind of showed it that it's basically 50-50 of the people that want to be more socialized, more socialist. And then there's people that just want to be left alone. And even, the big cities, I get it. I get why big cities want bigger government. Say a street light goes out here where I live, not a huge deal. We just deal with it. We don't have the traffic. We don't have the dense population. In a big city, that matters. So you need that support. But at the same time, you don't need the overreach. And I call it security theater. When you think about things that we sacrifice our freedoms in the name of safety, then we're losing all of our freedoms. You think of something simple like the TSA at the airports. That's where you're sacrificing our freedoms to be a little bit safer. And who knows if that, how much safer that makes us. But we all deal with it because it makes us safer. The NSA, it's gotten to the point now, there was a major uproar about the data information, the data collecting. Now it's gotten to the point where it's justified because of these terrorism events and all of this, so people are okay with giving their information out. A lot of people are. So, it's at some point how you're sacrificing all your freedoms. People are willing to give up their guns because bad people have guns. At some point, you're going to sacrifice all your freedoms, and you're going to become controlled by the government because they have your best interest in mind. So I just think we're heading in that direction. And like I said, a couple of things that could kill that basically are an economic collapse just a complete reset. But also, if we get to that point, I could see some sort of civil war going on, and maybe even a reshaping of the United States as we know it. That seems a little bit extreme, but you never know, because there are people in this country, and like I said, this election has showed it, that do not want to go in that direction. And then there's people on the coast that absolutely want to go in that direction. So, what does that mean in the interim? Maybe 50 years down the line, maybe even sooner than that, who knows? What kind of conflicts and all of that are going to go on in the meantime? And I'm not talking just all of a sudden one day massive civil war. It could be something that leads up to that. It could be smaller, sporadic things until, the big one. But that's kind of where I see our country headed. And who knows what the time frame is? Who knows what goes on in the middle? But it's a little bit, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm really happy that a lot of the unheard voices came out in this election and kind of spoke up. It's like they actually had somebody to choose from, regardless of what you think about him. They actually had somebody to choose from that wasn't status quo, that same old, same old. A lot of people just don't even bother with it because it's the same old, same old. But this showed that there's a lot of people that would stand up and say, hey, you know what, enough. And then a lot of people that are just okay with everything. So it's pretty interesting, but I do see our country headed in that direction, and either something is going to force it to stop, or I think it's going to continue in that direction. So Anyway, a pretty good podcast this week. We talked about people, different types of people, what's going to cause people to, flip out, what's going to cause them to lose their morals completely. And do things that you would have never thought they were going to do. And then we also talked about some events and some stuff that could happen that could cause all of this stuff. And some of what we got from Franklin Horton's second book in a series, where he talked about, what do you do with the people in jail? Do you just let them out? Who decides all that stuff? So pretty interesting show this week. But anyway, make sure and subscribe to the channel below, and we'll talk to everybody later. Make sure and listen to the podcast too. We'll talk to everybody later.